The Nashwauk Keewatin School District decided that we were going to move forward with a bond referendum to build a new building for the district. There will be two questions. The first question is about building a pre-K-12 building. The second question is an additional space, a wellness center for the community to utilize. And now we have an opportunity for the voters of the Nashwauk Keewatin School District to decide if they want a brand new building for their students, or will the school board have to make a decision to repair our old buildings to the standard with air quality control and HVAC and those pieces. We will have 100-year-old buildings with newer airflow systems, but still old buildings.
The way the schools are today, we have trouble providing the same education that the bigger, more advanced schools, and there's one thing that we've said as a school board since I've been on, is why can't we provide the same education at NK than a student at Eden Prairie receives. I think it's our mission, our job as a school board to provide that opportunity for our kids. By passing the vote, we can get into a 21st century building and provide education to our students that right now we currently aren't able to due to size constraints and the way our classrooms are made right now. It's a 100-year-old building. Education is not provided the same way that it was 100 years ago.
This is our air handling area. Our units here, obsolete. This is a condensate return or a steam line that supplies or takes back the condensate for our heat. And this is what kind of shape our pipes are all in throughout the interior parts of our walls in both schools. It's a non-stop job, tearing walls apart and fixing all these old pipes and leaks. This used to be our pool. You're looking inside where the water was in our swimming pool. Right now we just have to open it up for air movement through there. Galvanized water lines that are in there, they're 100 years old, been in the school. They barely push a pencil through them, they're so clogged.
The water in Keewatin is so full of, I think it's magnesium, that it starts clogging up basically our fixtures in our bathrooms, and the toilets would continue to run and things like that. So we had to have these filters installed. Our drinking fountains aren't filtered like that, so basically anything that we have in here, that's what our drinking water looks like. This back room leaks so much that we actually have to have a sump pump in here. When it rains, this room will be flooded and it would overflow this 6-inch block and actually flood the boiler room.
So I've been teaching here for 7 years, and we have a really great opportunity, and the communities have a really great opportunity to be able to pass this referendum and get a brand new K-12 school building. What we're seeing though is our classroom sizes are extremely small, and one of the things that the pandemic has brought up is that our HVAC system is non-compliant. What square footage we have in the school classrooms, they're not enough to really help our 21st century learners. I hope that the communities understand that with this IRRB money, if it's not passed this time, then the expenses go directly to the taxpayers, and it could mean down the line our schools not being here anymore. What we're seeing now with our 102-year-old buildings is that what worked all the way back then does not work anymore. So we really need to beef up and change what we have going here to build some collaborative spaces. We don't have any spaces where kids can go out and work with other classrooms. We have to compile them into one room, and then sometimes we're having 30 to 40 kids in one small tiny classroom. And being able to have some space where a social studies class, a history class can work with the English Lit class, and the math class can work with the science class and actually collaborate and build something up and have some cross-curricular activities, it's going to be a great experience for them. Any school buildings that you go into that have been built in the last 20 to 30 years, they have those common space areas where kids can just hang out and work on homework. We want this new building to be a space for the community that they're proud of, and they want to have some activities there, and they can see their kids, their grandkids, their nieces and nephews all working together in these kind of spaces. With our 102-year-old buildings, what we don't have is these common space areas that kids can come before school and hang out and do some homework, meet up with friends, talk about how the weekend went. We don't have any spaces where they can go to after school and actually work and get some homework done. Spaces for some tutors to work or work with teachers after school to really beef up and help their academics and their GPAs. We're making do with what we have here, but making do doesn't work anymore. After going out and getting some education, actually being able to travel and see some other school buildings, you realize how much we're lacking here, and we shouldn't be taking away opportunities because we can't offer them the very best.
We're teaching in a kind of a dinosaur building, 1920. Education has changed tremendously in 100 years, where it's a lot more grouping and cooperative learning and student focused, where we do interactive things with television screens and iPads, with, flexible grouping, and really try to get kids their highest potential. You do the best you can with plaster walls that were built in 1920, but the full enrichment experience would be, flexible grouping, flexible classroom, open spaces. With a school that's built in 1920, you have limitations. Your lighting is not inviting. It's kind of fluorescent, noisy ventilation, heat systems, overheating, underheating. Technology is limited for me too. We're trying to, bore through feet of plaster walls to have Wi-Fi routers in classrooms, and we have dead spots no matter what we do with how many hot spots. We're looking to give kids kind of a full school community experience. They're not just here from 8 to 3. They're here on Saturdays for basketball tournaments. They're here for their birthday parties, the community center. They're here in the evening because there's a parent night and there's a conference with something, or we're hosting something with our new facility, and showcasing kind of the Iron Range, where kids are really proud of their new building and where they come from. So we're trying to do the best thing possible to support these kids and their endeavors for the next 50, 100 years.
Our high school does not have a space that would be considered a cafeteria. We have our cafeteria tables, our lunch tables set up on the stage in the gym for students to eat. We have 3 lunch periods. 2 of the lunch periods fall just in a normal break. But one of the lunch periods actually splits. They'll start 4th hour, they'll go to lunch, and then they come back to 4th hour. It's hard to get the kids back on track and focusing the way we need them to focus. And so it's just difficult. And not having a cafeteria in the high school makes it difficult. In the elementary, because of the size of our cafeteria, we start lunch at 10:30. And our last lunch period ends at 12:50. And we need to end at 12:50 in order to accommodate the custodians being able to get the cafeteria cleaned for the activities in the afternoon. It's just way early for kids to be eating lunch, or it's way late for kids to be eating lunch. And also to accommodate the preschool in our building, they actually eat lunch in their classrooms. I mean, it's a very tight schedule to be able to provide lunch.
This kitchen is actually significantly larger than the one in Nashwauk. The square footage is still lacking for the amount of kids that we serve through the kitchen here. The floor needs to be replaced. It's been needed to be replaced for quite a few years. This wall we had redone this last summer, and it's covered up with this plastic. It's covered up, but it's not taken care of. This is the kitchen's storage. This is where they keep all of the non-perishable food. This room manages, I guess, all of our sprinkler systems. All the walls are crumbling around us. It's damp, it's mildewy in here. This is underneath the outside staircase, so all the moisture and anything like that comes in from the ground, it comes in here. We had an issue with, I guess, our fire panel this summer, and because it's so outdated, they said that we would have to replace the whole thing, which was gonna be about, I think it was $25,000, but doing a little investigative work with our electrician, we were able to bypass a couple things to get it to work properly. This is our occupational therapy, physical therapy room. So this is for kids who need a little bit of help with therapy, whether fine motor skills, or they do house between 2 and 3 staff in here any given time when working with kids. It's just not a big enough room for them. They also have some storage back here, which is noisy because it's where our network controls are at.
We had more options when I was growing up. Home ec, art. We don't have those spaces anymore because we've outgrown the building. We're losing students because of the things that we can't offer. So one of the things that I feel would be beneficial for not only our district but our community would be having bigger gym facilities. I can't tell you with girls in basketball and volleyball and fast pitch how much we travel throughout the year to different schools that have these facilities that are large enough, and we don't. It'd be nice to bring those people into our community, into our school, have somewhere that we're proud of that we can host, and not always have to be traveling ourselves.
As a student athlete, I was very involved in many things, and I was also in band. So the part with band is that we performed on our cafeteria, gym floor, stage. It would just be a great help if we had an auditorium separate, like a cafeteria, separate areas just so we can practice our different extracurricular activities. I was in symphonic and marching band, and for a marching band, we would practice outside on our broken and cracked streets, and we had to watch where we stepped so we wouldn't roll our ankles. So having a field to practice on would be a great help. When it comes to like studying or places just to hang out with your friends or even like tutoring, we have a library that's very small. Half the time it's not open, not available, it's locked. So we don't have a space really for studying. We used to have a pool, but that was covered due to maintenance and costs and stuff. And that was turned into our band room for COVID. But even then, they would use that for the wrestling room because we don't have one. For basketball practices and volleyball, our upstairs gym, the floor is tile. It's not an actual gym floor that we can use. Our water fountains are always broken, lockers, half of them don't open. There's always like leaks from the ceiling and stuff. It just seems if the atmosphere was better, they would want to come to school. If we had new facilities, it would be so much more enjoyable.
I've heard it's actually the oldest current standing school that's functional in the state of Minnesota right now today. And you can really tell when you go around through it. And this place has become a place that students necessarily don't want to be during the day. Being in the old buildings, super old classrooms, everything's really out of date. We're using everything for multiple functions. Our cafeteria is actually a stage that's on our gym and serves as our lunch cafeteria. The kitchen is a tiny little concession booth. While I was in varsity wrestling, we actually had to lay our wrestling mats down on our upstairs, very outdated gym and have practices right in the middle of the gym floor while we were trying to be very best we could at varsity wrestling and wrestle at a very high level. And here we were practicing in a gym, splitting time with junior high teams. Our field house, I don't even know how old that thing is, but it basically is like we're standing in just a box of brick. And there's no running water, so we couldn't even shower after practices. There's no lockers. It's not a safe place to keep anything. You drive by it and there's broken windows that are boarded up on the outside. And I just think, how is this enticing for anyone to want to go to this school anymore? A lot more kids you see are staying in Hibbing or Greenway and Rapids nowadays, and I'm not surprised why, because they're getting a lot better opportunities as far as classes. They're getting a lot better opportunities in sports. The facilities are much more welcoming. They have actual study spaces. They don't have to go through their school day using things that are outdated by 50 years. I'm currently studying to be a chemical engineer in college right now, and our chemistry lab had basically nothing working for it. And the only thing that saved me in high school was PSEO over to ICC and use their labs and takes classes there. Otherwise, I would have been at a severe disadvantage. I would have not had the lab skills and knowledge that I needed to continue on with my chemistry education.
So the financial side of the referendum is, if we passed a referendum with the IRRB money, it'll be about $112 per $100,000 home. Even without the IRRB money, it'd be about $300+ a year per $100,000 home. If the referendum fails, we have no choice as a school board to put money into these 100-year-old buildings, and that would be about $425 per $100,000 home. And at the end of the day, we still haven't changed how we deliver education, and we're still in 100-year-old buildings.
As beautiful as they are, they're 100 years old. I think our focus needs to revolve around our students. We've got them for 12 years, but we're really preparing them for the rest of their lives.
We have amazingly dedicated staff here in our district, and the students that graduate from here year after year continue to show that. To have a building that would reflect that would be amazing for our community.